He kōna I purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Hello, I'm Simon Morris. I wonder if it's still a thing that recently a very large proportion of movie releases strongly feature women. After the commercial success of films like Barbie and Wicked, God forbid this should have anything to do with morality or simple fairness, has Hollywood simply caught on to the fact that half their potential audience is female?
You just have to get laid.
Shaz is right.
Oh my God.
It's been 4 years now.
You're effectively a nun. A very, very naughty nun.
I've set you up on Tinder.
What's Tinder?
I'd like to think the popularity of the likes of Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, Bird, Baby Doll, Maria, Widow Clicquot and many others also reflects the raised consciousness of male audiences. Why not go to a film just because 95% of the cast isn't necessarily male? That's what I'd like to think.
The woman is forbidden to run a business under the law. Her vineyard should be placed in the hands of an experienced executor.
Was this the plan all along?
No, madame. It never occurred to them you would succeed.
So is time, to coin a phrase, up? Well, only sort of. For all the fact that, for instance, all the movies this week are, as Bridget Jones might say, about a girl, the women are mostly just in front of the cameras. French ballet film Neneh Superstar, New Zealand tearjerker Tinā and Golden Globe-winning drama I'm Still Here are all directed, written and produced by mostly all-male teams.
O que vocês querem? Cadê meu marido? Vai embora! Sai daqui, vai embora! Sai!
The one exception is an Australian documentary that significantly is about women's achievements, often being shelved in favour of those of their brothers. The writer-director is the exotically named Madeline Heatherton Meow. The film is called Mozart's Sister.
The idea that geniuses develop on their own is a myth.
Just the thought of having another Mozart, it blew my mind. I thought, why do we not talk about her?
Mozart's Sister rather came and went at the theatres, though I'm sure it will soon be available online. And it tells the story of the other Mozart, Maria Anna, nicknamed Nanel, whose career was initially just as stellar as that of her younger and infinitely more famous brother, Wolfgang Amadeus.
Marianne Mozart was very gifted. Her father at one point wrote that she is one of the finest keyboard players in Europe.
Composing was another way of playing together.
Nanel and Wolfgang Mozart had the fortune to be child prodigies in 18th century Austria. At the ages of, respectively, 10 and 6, they were put to work by their father. Wolfgang played violin, Nanel mostly played keyboards, though they often swapped, and they hit the road playing, as they say, to the crowned heads of Europe.
But when Maria Anna turned 15, she was stopped. Because if you were performing as a woman, it was equal to prostitution.
Until Nanel turned 15 and suddenly her fame and her creativity were switched off. Children could play in public, young women could not in the so-called Age of Enlightenment. But Nanel was not only a virtuoso harpsichordist, she composed too. And according to no less an authority than Wolfgang Mozart himself, she was very good.
In the 18th century, women were expected to be mothers and wives.
We know Mariana composed, but where are her compositions?
But what stymies this film is that none of Maria Anna Mozart's work survives. Or does it? If she were a musical genius, say some musicologists, is it not possible that some of the other Mozart's works may be, wholly or partly, written by his older sister?
Could Mariana have been as brilliant as her brother, if she'd had the chance?
Well, in fairness to the documentary Mozart's Sister, it doesn't quite dive down that rabbit hole, though some of the interviewees were clearly tempted to. One even hires a detective, Arizona handwriting expert Heidi Harrelson, to weigh up the evidence.
People all around the world are searching for her works.
I mean, I like classical music, but I mean, over in Europe, whoa, they're a little rabid about it over there.
Heidi's slightly shocked amusement at how obsessive Mozart fans can be is a highlight of the film. But Mozart's sister does touch on more substantial issues, the short list of other overlooked female composers, and more up to date, how much of the current repertoire remains weighted in favour of male composers.
Classical music has this power. 92% of the repertoire is composed by men. If we don't encourage women now, it repeats.
Actually, it's slightly worse than the figure 92% male suggests. In fact, 87% of featured composers are no longer living male. But there are two happy endings to Mozart's sister. The film is mostly narrated by her modern-day equivalent, 20-year-old British composer and conductor Alma Deutscher.
In her 50th year, Mariana Mozart returned to performing.
I just loved this idea that she didn't give up. She inspired me to compose myself.
Like Nanel, Alma was a child prodigy. Unlike her, she was allowed to advance her career afterwards. But Nanel's life had an unexpected twist. With no prospect of a musical career, she married a wealthy businessman and became the Austrian Hausfrau everyone expected her to be. But when her husband died, leaving her very comfortably off, she decided to hell with it.
Mariana is one story of many.
The pendulum is at last swinging in our direction.
At the age of 50, she went back on the stage where Mozart's sister was welcomed with open arms. Like Cher, she built a new career in her middle age. So while she never achieved the fame of her brother, it may be some consolation that her life was somewhat happier, and that the example of a talented young woman should be such an inspiration to the world 250 years later.
We just want to open the doors of this world, which is so beautiful.
Tucked away in some of our smaller art houses is a little ballet fairy story set in one of the dance capitals of the world, Paris. Director Ramzi Ben Slimane is a ballet fan with roots in the Paris immigrant community. Hence the film Neneh Superstar.
J'ai la danse qui me coule dans les veines.
Ouais, dans les veines, c'est ça.
Y'a que ça qui compte. Moi, meuf, je viens pas te voir à l'opéra. T'es une racale. Ta tête, elle va pas avec l'opéra.
Neneh is the 12-year-old daughter of African immigrant parents who loves to dance. But while she happily breakdances with her crew on street corners, deep down she aspires to the famous Paris Opera Ballet School. Her friends are sceptical. "You're too gangster," says her best friend in a clumsy, possibly approximate subtitle.
C'est pour le concours. Neneh Fontagnoré, 12 ans.
Bonjour les filles, il y aura toute l'équipe pédagogique, on ne se laisse pas déstabiliser.
But Neneh applies to join, along with a bunch of other 12-year-olds, mostly white and ponytailed, in sharp contrast to her. There's immediate trouble, not with the ballet's management, who are all impressed by Neneh, but with some of the teachers, aghast at how she stands out in the lineup.
Il faut absolument que cette petite Neneh entre dans l'école.
Vous êtes le directeur de l'opéra, mais je suis la directrice de l'école de danse.
Mettez-la en première position.
Her most implacable foe is her idol, teacher and former ballet star Marianne, who's determined to drive out this troublesome street kid. What's her problem, we're expected to wonder?
Tourne, tourne, tourne. Bon, t'y arrives pas. Romane? Voilà. Si tu continues à poser autant de problèmes, tu ne vas pas faire long feu chez nous.
And yet, despite the critics' complaints that Neneh Superstar is a bit predictable and formulaic, there are certain subsidiary delights. Neneh's endearing parents, for instance, first arguing over how practical a ballet career is anyway, and then relentlessly defending her decision.
Là-bas, elle va être bien.
Non mais danseuse, c'est pas un métier.
C'est une chance pour elle.
Il faut de la persévérance, de la santé et de la chance.
And there's clearly something going on with Nina's teacher Marianne behind those icy grey eyes. Is it just bog-standard racism or an unexpected secret? French star Mai Wen, last seen playing opposite Johnny Depp in Jeanne du Barry, holds her cards to her chest until the last moments.
Je mériterais d'avoir le rôle de Blanche-Neige.
Une danseuse doit apprendre à gérer ses frustrations en retour.
Mais de quelle frustration tu parles? C'est une injustice, c'est tout.
All right, by no means a classic, but like so many guilty pleasures, Neneh Superstar is hugely entertaining, from lively beginning to graceful happy ending. One for that rather specific audience, ballet kids with no fear of subtitles. New Zealand films do occasionally try the patience of their supporters. Yes, we've made some terrific movies, but out in the general cinema of unease, there's a tendency towards the grumpy and the glum.
Dad! Dad! Dad!
With one glorious exception. Hooray for Samoan films, I say. Films like The Orator, Sione's Wedding, Three Wise Cousins, and let's throw in their Tongan cousin Red, White and Brass. They have no interest in shaking their fists at anyone or solemnly examining their own navels for brilliant insights or even teaching us valuable life lessons, though they occasionally do that anyway. They've got one aim: to entertain.
When you walked into the interview, I thought, now here's someone that can offer my kids something different.
That's what I came to discuss. I'm starting a school choir.
And Tinā is the latest and possibly greatest Samoan entertainment to date, but it starts dark. Tinā means mother, and we meet Moreta, a teacher at a low decile school in Christchurch. Her daughter is about to audition for an important music scholarship and wants a bit of reassurance. But Moreta is about to face her greatest challenge.
Mum, please, can you help me warm up?
Okay, breathe.
The second Christchurch earthquake not only sees the death of her daughter, but also the loss of her Christian faith. From being a dedicated teacher and community leader, Moreta locks herself away. 4 years later, her friends, including Wynn's caseworker Sio, are worried about her.
We need to show that you're at least trying to make your situation better, or they're going to take your benefit, you're going to lose your power, pee your pants, and then I have to come clean it up. It's yuck.
Sio urges Moreta to apply for a teacher's aide job at an exclusive and very white school. It doesn't go well. Colourfully dressed Moreta and a 50 Shades of Grey Christchurch private school are hardly a great fit. But the retiring headmaster Alan pulls rank, and to everyone's surprise, she gets the job.
The other schools say we're too rigid. You're probably the first Polynesian woman we've ever had, though.
Congrats.
Well, the first few classes are marked by a decided lack of chemistry until one day Moreta and troubled teen Sophie bond over the playground piano. Moreta wonders if music may do the same for uptight rich kids as it did for underprivileged poor ones. What's needed is good old-fashioned Samoan family values, hard work, respect for your elders, and most of all, do what Tinā tells you or meet the jandal.
If you disrespect the master, you exercise.
Go power! This is a teaching institution. Otherwise, you'd get the jandal. With love, of course.
The jandal bit is downplayed a little in the actual movie, though it gets the biggest laugh among Samoan audiences. That combination of deep love and total terror of stepping out of line seems to dominate most Samoan movie families.
You want to rub your hands together like this?
You can tell me what choir's about.
Singing.
Yeah.
Patia! Patia! Tosopa! Okay, that's a work in progress.
The choir takes off. The kids' initial suspicion of the alien invader turns to love and respect for Moreta and all things Samoan. Don't worry, we are going somewhere with this.
I wanted to tell you guys about a national choir competition called The Big Sing. I think you should do it.
What is this?
They're a bunch of spoiled rich kids that have everything they could ever want.
You don't know them.
Moreta is played impressively by Anapela Politaivao, whose long-term experience as both an actor and a teacher, she says she's played mums and aunties since she was 20, comes in handy here. But writer-director Miki Mangasiva has given her a dream part, full of comedy, tragedy, conflict, inspiration, and it has to be said, some generous dollops of schmaltz.
Focus on the breaths around you, the space between us that connects us to our choir, our family, to our community. The person you're looking for is the one person that will truly care for your kids.
Everything, in other words, that Samoan family audiences, and quite a few non-Samoan ones too, want in a movie. I can't remember the last time I heard so many people quietly weeping into their hankies in a New Zealand film, or laughing out loud at other times. And may I put in a quick word for the kids in the choir here, by the way. I'm told they do all their own singing, even the featured actors, which surprised me.
You can't just throw some Sunday school group together to sing Kumbaya.
You felt that I could give these kids something. This is that something. I want you to promise me that you will not stop singing.
It's a tale as old as Fame, of course, or any of those high school musical films, but given a uniquely Samoan spin. Tinā is one for the whole national family, in other words, and one, appropriately, just like Mother used to make.
She's not gone. I see her in every kid that you've ever taught.
The Brazilian Oscar-nominee I'm Still Here is about a period regularly explored by Latin American filmmakers, the 1970s and 80s, when most of South America, Chile and Peru, Argentina and Brazil, were governed by military dictatorships. Brazil's government in 1971 was a disgrace to middle-class families like the Paivas. I'm Still Here opens on their family home next to the Ipanema beach in Rio. Rubens Paiva works, his wife Eunice looks after the house, the 5 kids do what kids do. Volleyball, play with the dog, stick up posters of English bands on their walls, tease their father.
Vai ficar andando no carro daquele playboy, não?
Ô pai, eu achava que playboy era quem ficava bebendo uísque, fumando charuto o dia inteiro.
Sua mãe, mulher mais linda do mundo.
But always there's the threat of the military police. The trouble is you don't know what might set them off. You may be suspected of passing on state secrets, whatever they are this week, or you may simply be arrested for giving a cop cheek when they pull you over for no reason.
Seus documentos. Anda, anda!
Daqui a pouco passa.
And under the constant irritations, there's some truth to it. When you're under the boot of a totally unreasonable dictatorship, you have to do something, surely, if only to let people know what's really going on. But you never expect it to be going on in your home.
Tá ficando perigoso demais aqui, Rubens. Deputado Rubens Paiva. Eu já volto, filho.
And after softening us up for half an hour or so, that's what happens in I'm Still Here. Rubens Paiva is arrested for unspecified crimes against the state, and suddenly life changes forever. Rubens had once been the unquestioned centre of the family unit. Now suddenly it's Eunice, played rivetingly by Fernanda Torres, who has to step up.
O que aconteceu? O meu marido está em perigo.
Todo mundo está em perigo, Eunice.
Her life work now is finding what's happened to her husband. The authorities at first won't even admit they took him, let alone where they're keeping him. And like all the other families of the hundreds have disappeared, the worst thing is that everybody is now stuck in limbo, often forever.
Olha, a tática do desaparecimento é uma das mais cruéis. Como é que alguém entra na tua casa, leva o teu marido, leva ele preso e depois diz, sumiu?
Spoiler alert, very few people were ever brought to justice for the many crimes committed by Brazil's military dictatorship. But I'm Still Here is only partly about that. Mainly it's the story of how Eunice Paiva built a new life for her family. When democracy was eventually restored, many people wanted to forget it even happened. It was a long time ago, says a very young journalist. Aren't there more important things to talk about? No, says Eunice simply.
A comunidade internacional está de olho nessa história.
O Estado tem questões mais urgentes do que tentar remediar o passado?
Não.
I'm Still Here is up for awards all over the world, including the Oscars next month. It's long, it takes its time getting going, but it's worth the wait, particularly at the end, where the now 80-year-old Eunice is played by Fernanda Torres' equally famous actress mother, Fernanda Montenegro, owner of one of cinema's great faces.
Não precisa sorrir.
Por que não?
O editor pediu. Uma foto menos feliz.
Ah, ele quer triste. Nós vamos sorrir. Sorriam.
But before that, there's a telling scene where a family photo is staged by a local magazine. Perhaps look a bit miserable, suggests the photographer. That's what they want, says Eunice. So today, we smile. Well, it's been an interesting all-women show today. 2 powerful mothers, 2 very young women confronting injustice 250 years apart, and 4 quite distinct, fist-pumpingly triumphant conclusions. All up, that's got to be a win. And on our own fist-pumping conclusion, it's time to go. I'm Simon Morris, and I hope you'll join me at the movies, same time next week.